Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we are discussing a ship you can get right now for a mere 2,500 doubloons as part of the second event pass. And that is none other than the Tier 6 Premium German battle cruiser, the Prince Eitel Friedrich. Now, the event pass this go-round has the theme of, well, German Reunification Day, so that's why, if you're wondering, there's so many German-themed items in the event pass. That's why. Now, the PEF is it's a bit of an older premium ship. I remember when she came out a few years ago, how kind of polarizing she was. I really liked her back in the day, but to be honest with you, I haven't really played her that much until I sat down to do this video. I've been playing her most of the afternoon to get a feel for what she's like in 2025. But back, God, the thing came out like what, 3-4 years ago? Back when she came out, I really liked her back then. Now, of course, a big question is, well, why would I bother getting the Prince Eitel Friedrich when we have the Mackensen, or Mackensen, which is currently the Tier 6 German battle cruiser in the tech line. They are the same class, they have a fairly similar playstyle, but the Mackensen is free, whereas the PEF, either here or whatever other way you want to acquire her, you do have to cough up some cashola in order to acquire her. Well, we're going to take a look at the PEF today and answer, is she worth the 2,500 doubloons that you need in order to get her in the event pass, and a little bit of a grind that you have to go through in order to acquire her. She is at the 10th slot in the event pass, which it's not too much of a grind, really, to get the ship, but obviously, you do have to put in the games in order to get it at the end of the day either way. So, yeah. So, the PEF. Let's start off with, well, what's the differences between the PEF and the Mackensen, or the Mackensen? Honestly, there's quite a bit, and, you might be surprised, considering, again, that the ships are so identical looking, that there are a lot of differences. Starting out with the guns, they both do have the German 350mm guns. The PEF has a 28-second reload time, though, while the Mackensen, and I really should have had this pulled up before I sat down to record this video, but anyway, the Mackensen has a 27-second reload time on her gun, so they have a slightly faster reload there with the main battery guns, but the differences from this point out become much more, well, different. So, the Prince Eitel Friedrich has 2.0 Sigma at Tier 6, which is absolutely wild for a Tier 6 battleship to have Sigma that good. However, the PEF also has German battleship dispersion, which means not so good, right? Now, the deal with the 2.0 Sigma means that there's more than a few times when you fire your guns that the shells will actually go right where you pointed the guns at, because that's what Sigma does. Sigma is a number that determines how often the shells actually go towards your point of aim. But of course, with the German battleship dispersion, that means that when that doesn't happen, the shells are going to go all over the place fairly often. Now, with the PEF, I find that even without a main battery build, not like you can do a whole lot with the main battery on a Tier 6 ship, but you can take the aiming system module to get the dispersion down a little bit more. But without that, I find that the guns are actually really accurate for a Tier 6 battleship, which, keep in mind, Tier 6, there's not a whole lot of anything even remotely resembling accuracy available at Tier 6 when it comes to battleship main caliber guns. So the fact that this ship has some pretty decent salvos every now and then, to even good ones fairly consistently if you take the dispersion module, that's pretty dang impressive right there. But the differences don't stop there with the PEF and the Mackensen. So the Mackensen secondary guns are way different from the PEF. The PEF has a bunch of 150mm guns and a bunch of 105mm guns. Now, the 150mm guns can pin 38mm of armor, and the 105s can pin 26mm of armor. And when we're talking about a Tier 6 battleship, that is beautiful to see, because you're pinning destroyers, cruisers, battleships at that tier with those guns. And the bulk of the guns on the PEF are actually the, well, I was going to say the 150s, but actually they're not. You get 14 of the 150 millimeter guns in the single casemate mounts, and then you get 16 of the 105 millimeter guns in the dual deck mounts. So about the same there with the 150s and the 105s, but you have a ton of both is what I'm saying. So you're pinning 38 with those 150s, 26 with those 105s, which is beautiful. So you're pinning just about everything that you can see if you're in a tier 6 or a tier 7 game. And even if you get up tier to a tier 8 game, there's a lot that you are pinning there with those secondary guns. Now the Mackensens, or the Mackensens, again, however you say it, you still get the, hold up a second, Wargaming game. Actually show me the correct ship import. Thank you. You still get the 150 millimeter guns, the 14 150 millimeter guns, but then the 16 105 millimeter guns are instead replaced with 8 88 millimeter guns, which can only pin 15 millimeters of armor. So that's quite the downgrade when the bulk of your secondary guns can no longer pin 26 millimeters of armor at tier 6. So, yeah, that's pretty rough. Now, there is, of course, the argument that the 88s do have a faster reload time than the 105s. The 105s, with the build that I have on the ship right now, have a 2.9 second reload time. And then the Mackensens, those little 88 millimeter guns, tiny little guns. Kind of funny how, like, in like War of Tanks and War Thunder and such, those 88 guns are considered to be quite large, in their matchmaking bracket. But now in World of Warships, it's just like, oh god, it's so tiny. They have a 3.6 second reload time base, but of course when you throw the modules on there, it does crank it down a little bit. Well, actually, no, you can't crank it down a little bit because you are stuck with the tier 6 mod slots. But with the skills, you can get it down by 10%, so you can shave 0.3 seconds off of that. So yeah, with the drilling rush and and everything going on, they do reload a little bit faster than those 105s, but still you aren't getting the pin damage out of them. So there's that. Now the Mackensen does also have the Massachusetts secondary dispersion, which means that the secondaries are more accurate than the PEF secondaries, which have the old German battleship dispersion on those secondary guns, or German battleship dispersion on those secondary guns. So you can see how they're kind of trying to even out to make sure one's not overtly better than the other one. But I still would go with the PEF secondary simply because every shell that you hit is pinning basically when you're in tier 6 matchmaking. So that's not pretty nice. It's actually pretty darn amazing when we're talking about secondary ships. So besides that, there's a couple other things here and there that one ship does a little bit better than the other ship. Like the AA on the PEF is better, obviously, with all those 105s. So there's that. But also, like, AA in most cases is theoretical, so you can't really count on that too much. But from playing both of them, I will say that the PEF, if you like the old German battleship style, but maybe in a little bit more of a battle cruiser form, that's what I would say the PEF is good for. Because when the PEF does get in secondary range, when she gets everything going, right, the secondaries are cooking, you got a drilling rush going, you've got the commander skill going, manual fire for secondaries. I don't know why it took me so long to remember that thing's name, that skill's name. It feels really good. And I had more than a few games this evening playing the PEF that it was fun. I had fun. The ship was fun. The matches were good. The only really bad thing about the ship is that it does have a massive turning circle. It doesn't have hydro. It doesn't have a spotter or a fighter or anything. So you feel kind of limited there in a line that's normally full of utility, right? Because the Germans have hydros. They have hydros and spotters on a ton of their ships, but you don't get any of that here with the PEF. So there's a couple moments where it felt kind of awkward, especially with like some submarine games, because of course in tier 6 matchmaking you're going to run into double and triple submarine games quite a bit, and her wider turning circle definitely suck there. Her turrets too, I almost forgot to mention that when I was talking about the guns. The turrets have a way longer 180 time than the Mackensens. The Mackensens, you know, you've got a pretty crisp turret rotation time. It more than keeps up with the ship's maneuverability. The PEF, it feels like, you know, you're right on the cusp of outrunning your turrets in more than a few situations. So that does definitely suck. But, you know, again, with the rounds I had, wasn't too much of a problem. Right, so, you know, it felt pretty good, and it did pretty good in today's World of Warships. And I had some wonky matches. Like, I had 2 matches where there were 3 submarines per side, and I'm guessing those 3 submarines sat in matchmaking for too long because we had, like, a 7 ship per side match where 3 of the ships were submarines. So that sucked, but it did pretty well. It is fairly fast for a, not fairly, it is actually really fast for a tier 6 battleship. With the speed flag going, you're going 29 knots, which is really nice. Compare that to other tier 6 battleships where the vast majority of them are just kind of, you know, those old dreadnought wagons that take forever to get anywhere. They go 20, you know, maybe 25 knots. And you over here schmoozing at almost 30 knots, so that felt pretty good. You know, and the fact that you can, you know, get from one side of the map to the other side of the map pretty quickly with a ship that's, you know, this well armed, that's nice. Another thing I like about the PEF, and, you know, this is a Mackensen thing too, because, you know, they share the same design. There's not a whole lot of superstructure on the ship, and the ship sits really low in the water, so that's that much less superstructure HE spammers can farm. Again, compare this to like a New Mexico that has a city built on top of it, right? There's less there for the HE spammers to farm because you're so low in the water too. A lot of times you'll see just battleship shells, you know, they'll fall short or they'll fall long, and, you know, the ones that you do eat that did land to where the middle of their aim point was is maybe 1 or 2, right? Again, compared to a lot of other tier 6 ships that kind of stand up out of the water and are super easy to get good, consistent, chunky damage on. Doesn't really happen with the PEF. So I like that about the ship too. Now, do keep in mind too, for 2,500 doubloons, you get this ship, but you also get everything else in the second event pass as well. So just some highlights of that second event pass. You do get another 4,000 coal, 4,000, 8,000 coal, 300 steel, 12,000 coal, 600 steel, blue signal boosters. You get the Infernal camo, a tier 10 Infernal camo, bunch of blue economic bonuses, a port slot. So yeah, I mean, you're getting the ship. Oh, and this, you know, 10-point commander as well. You're getting the ship. You're getting blue economic bonuses, steel and coal for $10. I think it's worth it. I mean, if nothing else, I mean, you get all the goodies and you get another ship that you can collect additional festive tokens on for when the Santa Container event comes around the corner. I think like tier 6, like ranked 2 or brawls, the PEF would be pretty solid there as well. So it's doing pretty good in today's World of Warships. I do think it's worth picking up, you know, if you got the spare doubloons laying around. I don't think it's worth, you know, going out there and out of your way to get the ship. But if you like what you see in the background footage and you like what I've talked about here, you know, the way the ship sounds, I do think that you would very much enjoy the ship in game. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Those of you that have PEF, do you still enjoy playing her? Do you think she's just a little too in today's World of Warships? Let's know all that down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful Friday, wonderful rest of your week and weekend. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.